Welcome to Show Me Something Wrong,
where each episode one of us chooses a movie to watch that the other hasn't seen. The movie is often obscure, usually odd, and always wrong.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Guy, and today I've chosen the movie, and it is Iro by Kei Fujiwara. I feel like...
What have you done, Guy?
I know, I feel like I've really thrown a spanner into the works here, because I felt like we were on a roll. I felt like we were doing pretty good over the last few episodes. We had a good thing going, and I've gone and chosen the most difficult film to talk about.
Yeah.
And I've just fucked it up for everyone.
Yeah, it was a bit rough. Yeah. Almost instantly, almost maybe like the first 5 minutes, I'm like, fuck, I don't know what's going on. I watched this last night. I was a bit hungover. I felt I was exhausted after a long day of work, and I was not in the mood for this. So it was very hard to make sense of. Not saying I didn't like it, but yeah, all I could think about was like, fuck, how are we going to talk about this?
Yeah.
That's all over to you. You're just going to talk for the whole time, and I'll just nod occasionally.
Yeah, it's one of those. I really wanted to talk, but I really wanted you to watch as well. So this would be a great platform to do that on. But trying to make sense of this. That, like you said, the 5 minutes in, you're like, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah. That feeling does not let up. No. This is a 90 minutes of what the hell am I watching? Yeah. It's so hard to make sense of. But before we get into that, let's talk about the director.
Yes.
Kei Fujiwara. Let's have a bit of Kei Fujiwara Appreciation Hour.
Should we play like a song there?
Can you just sing the words Kei Fujiwara for like...
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1. That's my trick. You can't do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Kei Fujiwara, instantly recognizable as the other half of Tetsuo the Iron Man. She was part of Shinya Tsukamoto's initial theatre group, Kaiju Theatre. They worked together on a number of projects. The Phantom of Regular Size, the Adventures of Electric Rod Boy, and then finally Tetsuo the Iron Man, the fucking ultimate magnum opus, if you will.
Was that it for their collaboration?
That was it, because during the making of Tetsuo, they were at each other's throats. They both had such strong creative visions that they were just fighting constantly throughout it. And apparently it was such an intense shoot that all the other members of staff quit.
Wow.
And they were both just essentially kind of fighting for what they thought was best for the film. It wasn't about like who's more in charge, who's doing this or that. It was like, this is what needs to be done for this project. You've read that book by Tom Mes, right?
A long time ago.
I know you're not a fan of him, but...
I actually quite like that book, because that book is basically just interviews with Tsukamoto, right?
Basically, and also Kei Fujiwara.
Right, yeah. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I did really enjoy that book. I don't like his Miike book so much.
Right.
Just because I disagree with a lot of his opinions on Miike films.
It's kind of hard to avoid, though, isn't it? Being a Miike fan, buying lots of third window editions, Arrows, it's all Tom Mes, right?
I don't think... Has anyone else written a book about Miike other than him? Not that I know of.
There has been, some. But not to such an extent that Tom Mes has. Anyway, bit off topic. Back to Kei and Tetsuo.
What is her credit on Tetsuo?
So the thing is, Tetsuo was filmed in Kei Fujiwara's apartment.
Right.
She did lots of the cinematography. She did lots of the set design. She was one of the main characters. She was a huge part in the making of Tetsuo. So when these two being Tsukamoto Shinya and her had opposing opinions, they would fight it out basically. And it got so what did she do in Tetsuo? She did a lot. She wasn't credited as one thing. She did pretty much everything. Although ultimately he was given the director's credit. Yeah, it's his vision in the end. But there are lots of kind of arguments that she had the stronger creative vision amongst the pair.
Right.
And she actually brought more to the film than he did. I'm not saying that's my opinion, but there are these arguments. One of the examples being the infamous drill penis. So apparently, this is according to Tom Mess.
Right.
Can't say how reliable he is, but the drill scene. Apparently, Shinya was saying, we'll just film it. We'll make it look like it's moving. And she was like, no, can't do that. We need to make it move. So she had an electric fan, which she disassembled and used the motor to create a rotationary drill cock. And then was birthed this incredible drill penis scene. So there's lots of these things that she was able to contribute to the making of Tetsuo. And I think if she was not a part of that film, as well as just his theatre group and the other films that she was involved in, would not have been as good.
Yeah.
I think she's such a fantastic creative person, and pretty much everything she's done, I'm kind of in awe of. I think as a person, she's quite incredible.
It's also like, that's kind of a good comment on like auteurism as well. Like, a film is not by one person.
No.
Like, directors obviously have their stamps, but no matter what, like, it's being influenced by the other people working on it, and that's just like an extreme version of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you watch Tetsuo, it feels like, to me, like a perfect amalgamation of their styles and leanings. Their own films outside of that are quite different.
Very. And you look at the Tetsuo sequels as well, which don't include Kei Fujiwara, and they're very different. Are they as good?
I don't think so.
No. I know you love Tetsuo too.
I've got a soft spot for that, because that was one of the first Japanese films I watched, I think. And I love Tsukamoto. Like, my favorite film probably of all time is Tokyo Fist. And I love pretty much almost everything he's done is fantastic. So yeah, but Tetsuo does feel like a collaboration.
It does.
Between the two.
And I think she was a huge, huge, huge part of that. So during the production of Tetsuo, they were just not getting on well. But for the greater good of the film, they made it work. They filmed in her apartment. All the cats in Tetsuo, they are also Kei's cats.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'll say this at the end about my experience when I met her, because she's actually a very fascinating person. And she's been rescuing stray cats forever, essentially.
Sounds like my kind of person.
She is quite incredible. So after they disbanded, she quit his theatre group and she created her own theatre group, which was Organ Vital. And they've been doing theatre productions ever since. And they actually still are doing theatre productions. One of the big ones they did was Organ, which they adapted into a movie. Have you seen Organ?
Yeah. Organ's fucking amazing. Yeah, I think you lent it to me, maybe? Or I don't know. But yeah, I watched it, I think only last year for the first time. And it was really different to what I thought it was going to be like. Was that put out by Unearthed?
No, that was put out by Synapse in America.
Okay. I feel like the DVD cover is a real like misrepresentation of what the film is. So if you look at the cover, it looks like it's going to be some like extreme gore kind of thing.
Right.
But the film itself is much weirder and way more interesting than that. Yeah, I love that film.
I do love, Organ. I wish I could have seen it as a theatre production to see how it was adapted into the movie.
That'd be amazing.
So they did Organ under their theatre production name, Organ Vital. And then the initial plan from that was to make Organ 2, the sequel. And they filmed loads of scenes, and somewhere along the lines, it became a new film, which was Ido, the film we're talking about today.
Okay.
So this was initially supposed to be the sequel to Organ.
Sure. Yeah, I was wondering that throughout it, because it does have direct references to Organ, which we'll talk about as we get to it. But it is a very different film from Organ.
So different. And actually, going back to that Synapse DVD, there is a little like bonus feature thing about the making of Organ 2. And she talks about Organ 2, and there's loads of scenes that appear in Ido, and she talks about it as if it is Organ 2. So after the Synapse DVD came out, it seems like the plan changed somewhere along the lines and it became a new thing.
This is maybe getting into something you might talk about later, but this film is from 2005.
Yeah.
And it does not look like it's from 2005. Is that because a lot of it was shot, in the 90s? When she was first doing the sequel to Organ?
Well, saying that, when was Organ made? I'm just going to quickly look it up. So yeah, Organ was 96. And yeah, like you said, it does not look like a film from 2005. So it could very well have been that this was shot over a vast period of time. I'm not sure about the exact makings of the film. Going on to my next point about this film is the title.
Yeah.
The title itself has given me a huge headache.
Yeah.
So the Japanese title, Ido, right? A very quick introduction to how the Japanese alphabet works. I know you know, Dave, but maybe for some of our very few listeners.
Yeah.
Each character in the Japanese alphabet is made up of 2 syllables.
Yeah.
Mostly. There are some exceptions. Ido being the title of this film, you have I and Do, right? Now, Ido itself is a word. It means the well. It's like a well, right? And the thematics of the theme of the well comes up a lot in this film. And I watched this first a few years ago, and I always thought they were talking about a well as in a well that you take water from.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about doing this film last week, you were like, well, no, but id is a word. This film is billed overseas as id, as IAD. And you're like, well, guy, we talk about id is a word.
Is that your impersonation of me?
That's you in a nutshell. So, what the fuck is id, Dave?
So id refers to like animalistic instinct, right? Mm-hmm. It's like our drive, like animal drive that we can't control.
Right.
I think.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I right?
Well, I whipped up the the definition of id.
Yeah.
And apparently, it is the part of the mind in which innate instinctive impulses and primary processes manifest. The conflict between the drives of id and the demands of cultural superego.
Yeah. So it's like a ego versus id kind of thing.
Which, and I look at the definition, and I'm like, well, I still don't know what it is. But then, according to Kei Fujiwara, the director, she said, the unconscious desire, id, that sleeps at the bottom of the constructed and controlled individual consciousness, ego, of I.
Yeah.
Now, it all sounds like mumbo-jumbo to me. But somewhere amongst those words, I can kind of form an image of what id is supposed to be.
When I was watching it, I think it does make sense. Because it is kind of the main theme towards the end of the film. Right?
Yeah.
I think.
But, so, when you said that, and I was like, shit, so maybe it's not about a well. But actually, it still is about a well. So, the title is a play on words, essentially.
Yeah.
Because the bottom of that impulse, that primary impulse and instinct, is displayed here in the form of a well.
Yeah.
We have a well in the film. But the bottom of the well is not an actual well. It's our primal instinct.
It's quite a smart title then. So it's sort of playing on an English word and a Japanese word, so mixing them together. Pretty good.
It's a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand. Yeah. So, Ido, they're both correct, I guess.
Yeah.
Both correct. And we get like these kind of, I'm going a bit ahead of myself, but still we get these kind of title cards, and the well is referred to as the id well, like the monster at the bottom of the id well. So it's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Prevalent?
That's the one. Let's go with prevalent. So let's get into it. Ido.
Oh fuck! Here we go.
But actually, I was gonna save this to the for the end of the podcast, but I think it would probably benefit by saying it first. Is that the director actually said at one point that she just connected a lot of images that she wanted to shoot.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So Ido is a very
convoluted, messy,
unlinear.
Yeah.
It's
all over the shop.
Very it's just a lot of scenes.
Yeah. When I was Yeah, I said this right before we started recording, but when I was watching this, we always write notes as we watch stuff. I almost stopped writing notes because I was like, fucking, I have no fucking idea at certain points what is going on, who anybody is. Towards the end, I think there is some clarity.
Yeah.
But even like Kei Fujiwara's character in this is so confusing because I don't know what her connection to anything is. So it's not a very narrative-driven kind of film at all. And even like the style of it is a very bizarre mix of kind of like almost like vaudevillian comedy in some scenes, and then just some fucking it's wild. It's like such a weird mix of stuff,
completely unlinear. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what narrative or whose narrative we're following. This is a very unstable film.
Yeah, very unstable.
So that's why I wanted to say that first, because if it sounds like we have no idea what we're talking about, it's because we don't. So with that, let's get into it. So we open up with a quote, which is, "The Amida Buddha's sacred vow is that all be granted salvation. Young, old, good, evil, even the most depraved by sin and lust will be shown compassion. Invoke Amida Buddha and you will be saved."
What is Amida Buddha?
So, Amida... You don't know Amida Buddha?
No.
Come on. Apparently it goes by a few names. Buddha of eternal light, of eternal salvation. He's like the person who's going to save us all.
Wait, is he just a regular Buddha?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I don't know about the different variations of Buddha.
Sure. And also in this first part, we've got like a narration as well.
It's all like a voiceover, yeah.
So we're hearing a lot of stuff about beasts cannot be saved, right?
So we start off with that male voiceover of talking about Buddha, and you will be saved if you trust and follow this Buddha. And we wake up and we're in a forest, and there's a very lost and seemingly scared man walking around, kind of wondering, looking up at the sky, searching for something, and he kind of collapses. And then we get the second voiceover come in, and that's the female voice, which we can only assume is Kei Fujiwara. And you were saying...
Yeah, it's just it's a lot of stuff about people can ask to be saved at the end of their life, but beasts can't. So again, it's like this id kind of idea, I guess. Yeah, but at this point, I'm like, oh shit, what are we in for? Yeah.
That's it. Beasts is in animals. Yeah, they can't speak, so
they can't pray to Buddha.
They can't pray to the Amida Buddha. They're just there's a lot of great words spoken in here. The words chosen, just breathing masses of flesh. Yeah.
Her voiceover is great as well. Like this kind of gravelly, deep voice. Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's very dreamlike. It's a very dreamlike opening, and then a storm comes and washes this man away, and we see something floating on top of the water, but it's shot from beneath, so we're not really sure what it is. But it's a very dreamlike, strange scene, very connected to nature and spirituality. Listening to myself speak now, it sounds so different from everything we've spoken about prior to this in our previous episodes. And then we wake up, there's a kid playing the harmonica, and there's like a dirty man in the forest. He kind of comes out the forest.
That's a different guy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, see, it was so hard to follow. I'm like, is this the same guy? I'm not sure. But what I did love so the kid is playing the harmonica, and the guy takes the harmonica and out of his mouth and just starts playing it as well. But then it fades into the score, like him playing the harmonica kind of turns into the score of the movie. And it kind of reminded me of... Have you seen Once Upon a Time in the West?
No.
It's probably my favorite Western, but Charles Bronson is in it. He plays... I think I'm probably wrong. I feel like his character's name is Harmonica. I should check that. But he's playing the harmonica, and it fades into the Morricone score, and it's one of the most amazing musical moments I've ever seen in a movie, and this reminded me of that.
Right.
The way it like faded into that, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking great. But the score of this was so good, such a good score.
It's a very kind of sentimental, sad score, isn't
it's
it?
like kind of mysterious, and it's really nice though, so good. It added so much to it. I felt.
So then we're kind of like following what I can only assume is a flashback, but saying that, we jump back and forth through different timelines a lot of the time. So
yeah, I also thought that, I'm like, flashbacks, maybe? I'm not sure.
And there's a man walking kind of through like slums, and he's like playing the harmonica, and then we find this guy who is apparently a murderer. Did you recognize him?
He's from Oregon, right?
Yes.
He's one of the main guys in Oregon. Yeah,
he is. And he is also in Electric Rod Boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And actually, I think this is Kei Fujiwara's husband.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe ex-husband. I'm not sure.
Okay,
but yeah.
right.
They had something. And I was like, fuck, it's the Electric Rod Boy guy. And we get a kind of flashback to when he murdered someone. So he's kind of like suffering with his past life choices, and he's essentially on the run going through these slums, I think looking for work.
Right.
I think is his story.
I did not get any of that, so I'm glad that you've explained that to me.
And then we cut to the rain, heavy rain, which is heavily featured in this film. There's a lot of rain.
It's a very wet movie.
It's very wet. And they're like, come on, bring it over, hurry up, hurry up. These guys are like out in the pouring rain, struggling with something. And they have what I can only describe is like imagine like a steering wheel to an old ship, you know, those like round wheels. And it's like a cog, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're trying to attach it to the well. And they're out in this rain, and apparently something disastrous will happen if they don't get this cog onto the well in time to close it off. Meanwhile, these pigs around them are screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
And apparently when the pigs scream, it's a very bad omen.
Yeah.
So they're very frantic in trying to close this well. It's a bit nuts. It's a very frantic and intense opening. And then we cut to our first title card.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
People who fell in the well?
Not just the well, the id well.
The id well, there you go.
Which goes back to the well being represented as the bottom of our self-consciousness. Take it from here.
Fuck off, mate. Not doing that. Well, we do get a very cool shot after that. So we go back to all these like pigs in the cages. There's a lot of pig stuff in this film.
So eventually we find out that we're actually in a pig farm. These people are rearing pigs to be eaten.
Yeah. We get all these pigs in cages, and then I don't know where anything is supposed to be, but like all this water's rushing down into this space, basement space or something, and then all this blood starts pouring down as well. So I sort of assumed that it's like a slaughterhouse as well. Yeah.
Was that not when the well started spewing blood?
Maybe.
There's a fantastic visual of just the well just like spouting blood, like spraying it right up into the air. We get another one of Kay's like voiceover. She's like staring into the camera, and she's saying like pigs are born for the sake of being eaten.
Yeah.
And then we kind of cut back to the murderer's episode where he's apparently killed someone, and we kind of see this episode little by little, like sporadically throughout the movie, and each time it expands on the story. And there's just like someone murdered on this bed covered in blood with all their guts hanging out, like twitching and convulsing.
That was fucking insane. So you get all these like guts hanging out, and then it starts doing like a stop motion animation of the guts, and they're like moving around. It's really mental. And then they start forming into people, and not just people, but this is what made me think of that vaudevillian kind of thing. These sort of fast motion hat wearing, they look like 1920s or 30s like
barbershop boys or something.
Exactly, yeah. And then we sort of see again, I guess this is a flashback to the aftermath of that, but just a pile of trash with the dead body just sort of sticking out of the trash.
Yeah. So we get these like labor workers essentially going about their day-to-day life, and they find this dead body in the trash, and all guts hanging out, and there's these buckets of blood all around. There's the Yamazaki meats written on these buckets, which we can assume is the meat factory where they're rearing pigs at. So that's like the first 15 minutes. It's very intense.
Yeah.
It's very intense.
You've helped me understand a lot more of that now. Because that, to me, honestly, those scenes, I really can't understand how confusing it was. Like, it just felt like a series of unconnected things for me. And I couldn't, in my tired state of watching, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I had no idea that he was supposed to have murdered that guy, for example. I had no clue. I thought that was... Because it's very, like... The way it's shot, it's sort of kind of weird. It's almost like voyeuristic. You don't see that much detail. So, yeah.
Everything's so disjointed. So all we can do is just try to connect the pieces and try to put the various timelines together. Yeah. And then we cut to these... Like you said, the kind of... the barbershop people who are born out of mud... And they're doing that like 1, 2, 1, 2 walking thing, and it's all like sped up, and it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway,
which is very not really connected to anything. All the scenes with those barbershop shop quartet guys, yeah, it's very odd.
I don't get it. But then we finally land in the main location of the story. So we're in this pig rearing factory, and we have a number of workers. One of them appears to be the boss, and they're all kind of a little bit weary or scared of him. He's clearly stronger than everyone else. But everyone is kind of... They all have their own individual character, right?
To me, it felt like they were all kind of... I don't know how to put it in a nice way, but everyone was very wrong in some way. Like, they felt like a collection of... people from an insane asylum or something that had been put in this factory.
That's a pretty good representation of it, yeah. But they're all very much like fit into a stereotype, all different. So you got like the big, strong boss guy. You've got one guy who is in like Civil War clothes.
Yeah, and there's another guy with pigtails and makeup, and he's constantly like. He's constantly out of control. Like, it's a real, like, nutty performance, him in particular.
Seeing their clothes and their costume, their characters, and everyone is so over the top. And it's such a contrast to the insane, intense opening that we've just seen.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, it's like, what does any of this mean?
It's also, like you said, there's that guy in that Civil War kind of outfit. It's really jarring. And when we saw those bits, and also early on, the way it cuts around to like flashbacks and stuff, I was like, okay, so this is set in like the 50s or something. And then as it goes on, it's like, oh wait, no, it's not. Everyone's just dressed in like absurd costumes, but it's not it's not really set anywhere in any particular time.
I love it. So what? I think it's the boss's son. He has a son, right?
Now that was fucking hilarious. Yeah, so we see like this bully kind of son, and he's beating the shit out of the Pigtails character, and he's meant to be 9 years old.
Yeah,
but he's played by a fully grown man.
Yeah. He's wearing like school clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, kicking the shit, and the dad's like, he's only 9. He's pretty big, right? Yeah.
He's like really proud of his giant son. In that first bit.
And we get another voiceover of just like this constant, like, it's almost trying to make us feel guilty about eating meat in a way, like Kay's voiceover saying the mass of flesh forced to mature in half a year.
Yeah.
Meat scrawled on the back sends them to the slaughterhouse. And you're just like, oh Jesus, this got pretty intense.
Is it around there as well? We also see a pig get slaughtered, but it's not a real pig. It's like a puppet pig.
Oh, soon, yeah.
And not the only puppet pig we're going to see throughout it. But like when I was watching this, Tana, my partner, came walking in for that scene and just laughed out loud at this like puppet pig like getting killed because it's really cartoonish.
It is.
It's not at all like upsetting. So you don't have to worry about seeing real animals get killed in this. It's definitely not real.
No. It's not realistic in any way whatsoever, but it's kind of very appropriate to what you would imagine a theatre group to come up with.
Yeah, it does feel like that, yeah.
So it's like clearly a handmade puppet of a pig with just blood spraying everywhere.
It's really great. The next bit is so good as well. So the 9-year-old fully grown man son Ricky, yeah. So we got to Ricky really intensely eating bread. Is it like jam, peanut butter sort of stuff? Whatever. He's just jamming all this stuff into his mouth, and he's kind of half puking it up as he's eating it as well. Yeah. And he's basically getting force fed by the dad, right? Like,
his dad is essentially raising his son as a pig.
Yeah. So he's wanting him to get huge.
Yeah.
But the dad's also having a breakdown about, like, he's reached his, like, peak growth. Like, he's not going to get any bigger. But yeah, this scene is so grim. This son in this kitchen just horribly eating the bread, and the dad having a meltdown next to him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was upsetting.
Yeah.
But actually quite genius as well. Like, you got these guys, like, raising pigs, and, like, they said in the voiceover, they have to be prime, like, nice and meaty within half a year. So the fact that he's also trying to raise his son like that, it makes sense, but it's also extremely upsetting. Then we cut to chapter 2. Peeping People. Which is pretty much shot exclusively through peepholes in the wall.
I was really confused by this because I don't think we've had any introduction to this character before this, but we're basically getting all those ridiculous guys spying on what we think at first is a woman, but is actually another cross-dressing character, maybe, or a trans character. I don't know. They don't really make it too clear.
So she's like in the window, kind of like undressing.
Yeah.
And you get all these shots of eyes kind of like peeping out and trying to like watch her.
And they're watching, and they are masturbating, but not with their dicks.
That's it. They whip out their dicks, but what have they got?
It's like a series of different things, right? Well, like I couldn't really make out exactly what they had. Could you tell what it was that they had?
They have like springs, like giant springs.
Yeah.
like giant fucking springs.
Yeah.
So they're like
just wanking
these springs.
Weird springs connected to their crotches. Yeah. One of them is like caught in the act, right, of spying and wanking by the boss guy. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. Who goes fucking nuts and starts beating him up, right?
Yeah.
Fucking very weird.
Yeah, that spring masturbation scene was odd.
It also felt very theater-like. Yeah.
But then we actually have something which does contribute to the story. So two girls come to what we now learn is the dorm for the factory workers. They knock on the door, and they are essentially... The easiest way to describe it is like Jehovah's Witness type people. They're there to kind of talk about religion.
Yeah.
And they're like, hasn't our world become strange and people have become weird? And she's talking about religion. She's saying about how hard her father worked. And there's two people there, right? They're talking to two of the factory workers. And they're like, oh my God, look at your hands. They're the hands of a worker. They remind me of my father's. And she's like touching her hands. And she keeps talking about herself and her family and her father, and then it kind of goes a little bit dark.
Very quickly. She doesn't really spend much time like doing the Jehovah's Witness kind of thing.
I still don't know what religion she's trying to sell.
I don't know, does she even get to that point? It's basically just straight into her dad murdering like her family.
Well, that's it. At first he was like, oh, my father, he died just before retirement. And he's like, oh yeah, that's unfortunate, sometimes that happens. And she's like, oh yeah, well, he killed himself, but he tried to kill the whole family as well, and he cut me as well, and then it's like, oh fuck it, like you said, it keeps getting darker and darker and darker. She was like, but he cut me too, but I managed to escape. And then we get a flashback of her like covered in blood in like this murder scene, screaming.
That actress is so unhinged. It's probably the best performance in the film, I'd say. Like, her role feels very real.
Yeah, but that's not the last time we see that flashback, and it only gets worse.
Yeah. When we come back to it, that is my favorite stuff in it, but that's much later in the film. Much later.
We still got a lot of things to figure out until then. And then we kind of cut back to that murder scene with the guy from the beginning, and we kind of learn then that it's like a prostitute murder.
I didn't get that.
And he's still running, and we kind of like we expand across the room a little bit more, and we also see Kei Fujiwara's character there covered in blood.
Oh, that's her connection to it. Okay, I was, just the way it flows together is so confusing.
Yeah.
It's really hard to make the connections, especially when you're very tired and hungover watching it.
So it seems like all the workers in this pig farm, what do you even call that place?
They keep referring to it as a factory, but it's not really a factory, is it? It's just like a slaughterhouse, basically. Yeah.
It seems like everyone working there is running away from something. And everyone is involved in some sort of like murder, or they have their past life that they've run away from. And that's when we get, I think one of my favorite scenes, actually. So people are kind of in this like cheap little yakitori izakaya kind of thing. They're all drinking. And there's a radio being played. And they're talking about the murder that happened in this hotel. And they connect it to similarities from two other cases, and that it may be the same killer. So we know that now that the guy from the beginning, and also Kei, this may not be their first murder. They may be murderers, they may just be tied up in something, we don't know. So one of the customers in this bar is actually the murderer. And he's listening to this radio broadcast and starts like heaving, and the owner of the restaurant, he's like, don't vomit here, swallow it. And they're like, drag him outside. He's like, swallow it now. And in the end, he ends up vomiting all over this guy, and it's like, you motherfucker, I'm gonna feed you to the pigs. And drags him back to the pig factory, and is essentially going to throw him into the pig pen to be eaten alive by pigs. But what happens, Dave?
One of the puppet pigs starts attacking the guy who's trying to throw him in.
Yeah.
But the scene, am I wrong? Like, the scene just kind of ends. Like, we don't really see what happens.
That's it. We don't know what happens to the bar owner, and we come back to the other guy, like, way later in the film. Like, after, like, half an hour has passed, we wake up, he's like, oh, I'm awake now.
It's so disjointed, and yeah, it's just impossible to know what's happening after time, or who anyone is. Yeah, like, I didn't even know that guy was the murderer.
Right.
That's how fucking confusing this film was to me.
He's the one who's, like, on the run. We get loads of, like, shots of him just, like, walking and kind of just solemnly playing the harmonica as if he's, like, troubled by his past.
Right. See, I thought it was the other guy who's at the factory the whole time that was playing the harmonica. Very fucking confusing.
You might even be right. I don't know. But then, I think we get to the most, like, despite it being one of the most insane scenes, probably the most confined scenes, so most, like, easiest to sum up in words. So we cut to chapter 3, which is entitled Early Afternoon Madness. So, it's a lovely, bright summer's day, very cartoonish, lots of, like, sped up walking scenes. A policeman is pushing his bike along the road, and he has a fully grown man in a schoolgirl outfit riding on the back of his bike.
Which is the character that was being peeped on in the last chapter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was confused because I was, like, trying to make connections watching this. So I'm like, is this schoolgirl character? I thought it was Ricky at first, the 9-year-old son. I was like, for some reason, this has happened to him. It wasn't him, but I was like, who the fuck is this character? I feel like it never really makes any sense.
Yeah, because this character doesn't even work in the factory, does she?
So the cop is, like, clearly, like, romantically interested in this schoolgirl character, or this man dressed as a schoolgirl, and the schoolgirl ends up, like, falling over in the grass and kind of revealing the crotch area of the pants.
And of the pants.
The pants. And the cop sees the crotch, obviously realizes it's a man, and has a full-blown meltdown and runs away. And the cop's really like, he's a real cutesy cop.
Like young and dumb.
Yeah. He kind of looks like an idol or something, right?
Right.
But yeah, he runs away. And the guys that work at the factory are watching this happen.
Yeah.
Including the guy with pigtails.
Yeah.
Who, like, runs over and starts attacking, like, sexually assaulting the schoolgirl or the guy dressed as the schoolgirl. It's sort of cutting between... As he's, like, doing this sexual assault, it's got sort of, like, fantasy shots as well of the cop doing it. Like, I guess from the perspective of the schoolgirl character. And then, the pigtails guy also realizes that it's a man.
Oh, right? But before that, he whips out his dick.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. He whips out his dick and it's like a flower penis?
No.
Oh, that's the other guy.
So the pigtail guy whips out his dick and it's like a rusty spring, but she's like fantasizing it as being the cock.
That's right.
And it's like a rose that blossoms from his like pants.
That was pretty funny. But yeah, so then once he realizes that, this schoolgirl is a man dressed as a schoolgirl, he starts like completely freaking out and beating the shit out of this schoolgirl character. And it's pretty vicious and weird, and I don't know what tone it's going for in the scene.
He keeps calling her like a freak, so she's got balls, she's a freak. Yeah.
It's really odd.
Moving swiftly on, Chapter 4, Red Night. And by this point, we still had an hour left in the film, and I still have no idea what was going on. And one of the workers is in hospital, completely bound by white bandages, and there's blood everywhere, and kind of projectiles, like blood vomit everywhere. And it's just another one of those nonsensical scenes that doesn't really have much connection to the story.
Is it a dream or a flashback or something? Because then he wakes up, right?
Yeah.
And then I think it's him. He wakes up and he is bandaged.
He's the one that's been stabbed, is that right?
Yeah, but all his bandages are all yellowed around his guts.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're back in the factory and the other workers have caught up with the Pigtails character, who has apparently killed the schoolgirl character.
So they're like beating the shit out of the pigtail guy. And
the boss says he wants to smash his balls.
Oh no. Don't do that. But he keeps saying, she had balls, she's a freak. So they're beating the fuck out of this guy. And a massive fight breaks out. And the guy with the stomach wound, like the one you just mentioned, I'm not even sure how he got that stomach wound.
I have no idea.
But he's kind of there watching from a peephole, overseeing everything that's happening. And we kind of end this chapter on a massive fight breaking out.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the next chapter, which is quite amazing.
Morning of the Corpse.
Morning of the Corpse. We wake up and there's blood everywhere. Like everyone is completely drenched in blood. Everyone's completely fucked up.
Yeah. The Pigtails guy has a massive arse wound. It's like he got a massive, horrible gash on his arse.
And everyone's covered in blood, but they're still kind of going about their day-to-day work. And the Civil War guy uncovers a body of one of his co-workers. Meanwhile, somewhere else, the vomit guy wakes up outside the pin pen. And there's a scene like Ricky goes to a police box. Do you remember this scene?
Yeah. So... Yeah, alright, so they've uncovered this dead body.
Yeah.
All this part was so fucking confusing to me. Because I didn't know who the fuck the dead guy was.
Same.
Later on, it seems like the Pigtails guy is referring to this character who's been killed as his dad. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on at this point. But yeah, Ricky, the son, has a kind of full-blown breakdown and runs off to... a Coburn, a police station. And that sort of hunk cop that we saw earlier is there. But then it all just goes wrong. Like,
he starts shouting like, I'm not a pig, and starts smashing the windows up and steals a bicycle.
Yeah.
And the vomit guy there is there to kind of stop him.
For some reason.
Because he's woken up now outside the pig pen, but he's just there. And the policeman chases him on a bike.
Yeah, so Ricky runs off, and he's, like, chasing down the pigtails guy, right?
Yeah.
And beating the shit out of him.
For some reason.
Again, don't know why. And let's remember, Ricky is a 9-year-old boy as well. And there's this sort of very, very funny shot of the cop chasing after them, like, through the grass, but he's, like, running in this sort of cartoonish, absurd kind of way.
Yeah.
That, again, is like, what's going on here? What is this film?
It's around this point where we have so many different scenes all cut together where we really have no idea what's going on, but basically, in a nutshell, we cut back to where they've hidden the boss's body, and it is essentially like the organ harvesting black market thing from Oregon with the bloody plastic sheets all over the walls and so there's the police catching up to the pigtails guy, but not Ricky for some reason. I thought he was chasing Ricky.
Yeah, that's what I didn't get. He's chasing Ricky, but then he catches up to Pigtails guy, and Pigtails is like, I'm gonna avenge my father. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. As well as Kay, covered in blood, eating flesh from a bag.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And then the guys who were born from mud, making some kind of makeshift shelter from the rain. There's all these scenes that all mixed together very frantically.
Extraordinarily
And it seems like everything
confusing.
is kind of building up to something.
Yeah.
And then we cut to chapter 6, which is quite amazing. Human Hog.
Human Hog. This is the best part of the film. Mm-hmm. And this is... Honestly, to be frank, before this chapter, I was like, I don't know what I think of this film. I can appreciate the skill that's gone into it, but I don't think I like it very much. But then from this point on, I really got into it. Even though it gets more crazy in a way, it also kind of takes shape at this point.
Yeah.
It's like less fucking all over the place like it is in those first 5 chapters.
Yeah. So basically, what we are watching in chapter 6 is the murder involving her father, the father killing the family.
Yeah.
Told through her perspective. So we start with the dad covered in blood, waving a knife around.
Yeah.
And it's the religious girl from before. And he's kind of like talking to the camera, and we get... Everything is black. So you have the surroundings are completely in darkness, and only the subject is lit.
Yeah.
And the girl, who we find out's name is Etsuko, she's like, don't you think it's strange? Look at this cunt mark wound that my dad left me. And where he cut her on the neck, which looks like a gaping vagina. And then her dad is like talking to the camera. Do you remember what he said?
No, I
It's quite horrible.
Right. Go on then.
Ah, you fucker.
I wrote down gross dad.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what he said.
Like, as we said, well, everything is so disjointed, but we get these scenes like the daughter, Etsuko, the religious girl, and her mum just like fighting each other, like slapping each other and being very aggressive, vicious to each other. And her dad is there just saying, Etsuko's cunt is stinky.
That's right. Yeah.
Stinky. He says it twice.
Yuck.
And he says, Papa will wash it off for you. So they're in this bloody mess, and they're fighting. The mum and the daughter are fighting, and suddenly the mum's face...
Yeah. So you sort of see her... So the mum and the daughter are fighting in this weird, as you said, like all black background. It feels very like dreamlike. And yeah, the mother has... You sort of see her, and there's like something wrong with her face, like in the close-up. And then like her face just like falls off, like peels off. And it is by far the best moment of the film. Like the visual is really incredible.
It's quite terrifying. And she's saying, your return to life is a miracle. So basically, the father killed everyone, but Etsuko managed to live. So she's apparently this miracle of life.
Yeah.
But she has all this past trauma, so she does not feel that way. She's suffering.
I like that as well, that it is in that weird dream kind of thing, but then it also cuts back out again to
yeah.
I guess the real world, or like more real world. And like I'm like, oh, okay, so that face coming off thing wasn't a dreamy hallucination thing. It's just part of the reality of this movie.
But even in the real world, Mum's got no face.
Yeah. Exactly.
But did you notice, like, or realize what Etsuko pulled out from inside of her?
No, I couldn't tell what that was. So she pulls something out from her. What is it?
I don't know.
Okay, good. Because I was like, what's that?
Because I had to watch it a few times. So she reaches inside of her, pulls out something. At first, I was like, is that like a fetus or something? But then it looks like it's attached to a telephone wire.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it was.
Me neither. I was hoping you'd shed light, but I'm also kind of glad that you didn't know what it was.
I have no idea. No idea. And then things get really fucking weird.
Yeah, it starts to, like, Kei Fujiwara's character has not really been a big part of this up until this point. And now the film basically just becomes centered on her right up until the end. So, which is also quite confusing because I don't really understand what her character is and how she relates to anything.
I think she was involved in the initial murder. Yeah.
So I didn't get that at all watching it. I thought she was literally just a random fucking character that we were cutting to. Did not understand that connection one bit at fucking all. But yeah, we get her kind of going kind of nuts, right? And she's got on her hands, like the kanji for meat is written on her hands. She's
at the gates to the slaughterhouse,
and
basically.
She's kind of crawling around, acting like a pig. And she's like, eat. I think this is the point where she's eating the meat kind of stuff, like ripping at that skin or meat or whatever. I
think that was the mum's face, maybe.
Oh, is that what that was?
I think so.
Right, yeah, that was fucked up.
But she starts like snorting and like crawling around. She's still covered in blood, by the way.
Yeah, and she's got like a bandage around her head, right?
Yeah,
so, like covering one of her eyes, which is like constantly sort of dripping with blood. That gets more extreme in certain parts of the film. And she meets up with
the guy from the beginning.
Yeah, the guy from the beginning, who to me seemed like the main character, despite me having no idea who he is. I thought he was the fucking murderer watching this because he was the main character, but he's not. He's just, I don't know who he is. But the guy that we saw at the beginning, waking up in the... No, is that the other guy?
No, that's the guy. Okay, yeah. You're right, yeah.
So they kind of like... they kind of meet together, right? So Kei Fujiwara, who's dripping blood, like red blood from her face, and he's like dripping green blood.
That's right.
And the blood is like pooling together.
Yeah.
Of this green and red blood. What the fuck? And of course the vomity murderer man shows up at this point as well, right? And is gagging and shit watching this.
But the point, and then there's the voiceover that says that we're all beasts. So she's a pig now, apparently.
And I wanted to ask you about this bit in particular because I think, I can't remember who says it, but someone mentions something like, do you remember what happened or something? And then we get a flashback to actual scenes from Organ.
Is it the body harvest scenes or the butterfly scenes?
So we're just like seeing all these like flashbacks to Organ at this point. Why?
I don't know. I can't tell you, Dave.
We're getting flashbacks to a separate movie. Like, what the fuck? And they're like, I remember what happened to you. And we're getting flashbacks.
But then there were prior flashbacks to this as well, like with the butterflies. There's loads of butterflies in here, and that was a huge theme of Organ as well.
So this is still kind of Organ too.
I'm gonna say it's like a quasi sequel.
Yeah. But there are like this part. It's like big chunks of Organ are shown in this part, which kind of tripped me out quite a lot. Yeah.
So the two of them are essentially just like spewing bodily fluids into this collective pool that mixes together.
Can I ask you something about Kei Fujiwara? So I don't know much about her, but I know Tsukamoto is a big like kaiju fan. Is she a kaiju fan? Do you know?
I mean, I don't know,
but
judging like on all of her output, including her theatre work and everything, there's never been any hints that she is a fan of kaiju cinema.
Well, this made me think, I don't know if I was overthinking it, but all I could think of, this red-green thing, which comes into it more as we move on as well, reminded me so much of this Toho movie called War of the Gargantuans.
Right.
Where there's these two Frankenstein monsters, and one is red and one is green. And I don't know, I was like, I know that Tsukamoto's a fan, so I was wondering if this was some weird visual reference to it, but I don't know.
I can't shed light on that. I have no idea. Cut to chapter 7.
Monster in the Depths of Idwell?
That's the one. In the depths of the Idwell.
Yeah.
So, in the depths of the Idwell, also known as the depths of our consciousness, according to the Id philosophy, we are in a black market organ harvesting room that we saw in Organ.
Yeah.
So we're basically in the same place. Kay is in full-on pig mode, so she's sniffing around blood-stained sheets and just like walking around on all fours, very animalistic.
Yeah.
And she comes across the body of the guy who was murdered previously.
She's like dripping blood all over him. So she finds the dead body.
Yeah.
And he's just like gushing all this blood onto him.
And her head, she's just pouring blood from her head
so
wound,
she's got,
right?
Yeah, this bandage on, and it's just like sort of pouring out of like the bandage.
Yeah. And then we get one of the most upsetting sex scenes.
Fuck? Like, what the fuck is that? So we get this. Was there any context?
I don't know. I don't understand.
So she's crawling around, and she comes across this like fucked up kind of like deformed looking zombie man.
He looks like a burn victim to me.
Yeah, it's really horrible. And it's this guy like just having sex with this woman in this sort of plasticky slaughterhousey looking fucking location.
Yeah, that's it, because they're like surrounded by bloodied like sheets, like plastic sheets all around them. The girl, she's not weird at all. She's just a very like just like in her normal sexy clothes.
Yeah.
But the guy is fucked up, and he starts like spewing this like white gunk from his mouth, which he uses to like moisten her up.
I don't know what this was meant to be, but it felt like some kind of trauma flashback thing from Kay, of like something she's like witnessed before. I don't know, like it was really fucked up and traumatic.
Well, and then we get the weird burn victim guy saying though, as he's like rubbing his gross white mouth goo on this girl, saying women are pigs, crying out as I deal with them. Like, so he's dealing, like killing these pigs the same way that he would have sex with women. There's this constant like comparison between the two worlds, constant in display on this film. It's quite upsetting. But Kay finds them, and we get this weird conversation between the two. She's calling him a beast, and he's like, "Are you jealous?" And she's like, "You're not my father." And which probably goes back to what you were saying about this weird, like,
it felt
past
very
trauma,
traumatic, like PTSD sort of stuff. Yeah.
And then we get these like words flash up on the screen. It's like beast and fiend.
Yeah.
And then a wild shot of Kay once again surrounded by this like blackness.
Yeah, it really goes bonkers at this point. So we've got like Kay with like this sort of swollen, split open, kind of pregnant looking stomach. She's like tearing at her own guts, and they're kind of like throbbing, and shit's like coming out of them. Oh man, fucking crazy.
And then the vomit guy, he descends into the organ harvest and the bottom of the well, the Idwell, if you will. And I don't even know why he's there, but he's gone down the well and he's walking around this organ harvesting place, and he kind of sees something moving around from beyond the plastic sheets. And it's the guy with the stomach wound from before, but he's changed. He's evolved, if you will. And he's basically morphed into like a new entity with Kei Fujiwara's character.
That's what I had to rewind and rewatch this ending, because we don't see that happen.
No.
But Kei Fujiwara and the stomach wound guy have basically morphed into this fucking strange, like, muscled up beast monster thing. It kind of reminded me of, Story of Ricky, where the warden, like, gets all, it's muscled like up. It's that kind of effect, right?
And the thing is that's the monster in the bottom of the well. Yeah. So it's all, like, he's all green and rotten and covered in fungus, but it has, like, strong characteristics of both characters, like, united into this one fucking weird entity.
Yeah.
But the face is still the stab wound victim. But when he speaks, Kay's voice comes out.
And it's got, like, the Kay bandages and hair and everything, yeah.
And then comes, like, the showdown. I guess is the finale of the film, the showdown between the monster in the bottom of the well and the other guys.
This part was so confusing, because it's sort of, this weird monster kind of crawling around attacking a variety of people.
Yeah.
Some characters we've seen before, and other characters I was like, I don't know who that is. Like, at one point, there's just a random woman down there getting attacked. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Was that not the sex partner?
I guess so, but who is that?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, it's all these different people, a variety of random people. Yeah. The boss comes back down as well.
Oh, it does.
It's.
So the vomit guy takes out a knife, which is used to harvest the organs, stabs the monster, pins it against the wall by its hands, but the monster removes the knives, repeatedly stabs the vomit guy, and we think, well, he's done for. But the pigtail guy also descends into the well, and he brings our favourite policeman with him.
The hunk.
And the monster, like, drops down from the ceiling with a baseball bat, and he's like, you two are a pig, and starts, like, smashing him with a baseball bat. And, I really had no idea what was going on. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I fell asleep at this point and had to rewatch it.
In the finale.
Yeah. Not that it was, like, I was very tired and exhausted, and this film really hurts your brain trying to watch it.
Yeah.
So I had to rewatch this part. But yeah, just going around with this baseball bat smashing up.
So then the guy who we thought was killed earlier, who they dumped the body into the bottom of the well, he's actually still alive. And he starts apologizing to the monster. He's saying, I'm the one who made you this, and I'm sorry. And basically, he invokes the Amida Buddha.
Yeah.
Is the only way that I can try to understand this. And that has some kind of effect on the monster, who then starts, like, convulsing and vomiting. And what I can only assume is the damn souls of hell start, like, crawling across the screen. It's like double layered shots, right?
I feel like it reminded me of, like, I don't know, like a old silent film. You know, like, oh fuck, what's that film? Oh my god, I've totally forgotten the name. That satanic silent film from the 20s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the fuck is
Hakusan?
that? Hakusan. I don't know. Just like the effects gave me that kind of Hakusan vibe.
I understand.
But like a 2005 version.
Yeah, and some of the monster vomits back out Kay, and now they're separate entities again.
Yeah.
And Kay's, like, pleading with the guy, the stab wound victim, saying, kill me instead of the other guy. It's all very much like yin yang, good versus evil, right? And the vomit guy pops up in the background in classic slow-mo fashion, grabs the bat, smacks the monster, and we get this glorious, like, blood spray on the screen. And then we kind of cut to the last scene.
I don't remember the last scene.
You don't remember the last scene? Oh, well, upon that, like, the impact of the bat, the well starts erupting blood.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, like, spewing it out at incredible heights. And I think there's, like, an earthquake, and the well disappears back into the ground. It's actually quite an impressive shot. And then the most what the fuck after all this madness, probably the one scene that I was like, what the fuck is this, happens. So it's now like nice and light, and it's daylight again. We're back in the forest surrounded by nature. And basically from the heavens, if you will, we get text come on screen.
And it's real tacky. Like, it looks like something you'd see in like a... like a religious
like a
film.
brochure or something, like a religious brochure.
But like those shitty, like low budget, like Christian movies that get made? Like it felt like that, like this sort of dodgy, mid 2000s CG text.
Yeah. 100%. And it says, Lord Amida leadeth me, Lord of infinite light and life. But it's like sparkly writing coming down from the top of the screen.
What the fuck, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? After everything I've seen, that was the scene that I was like, what the hell
it definitely
is this about?
Added an extra layer of strangeness to this. Yeah,
definitely. And then there's a couple of very brief scenes whilst like we go over the credits, which don't really explain much of anything. But I think we end up back in the forest, so I think it's like a constant loop because that's where we started.
Right.
But who fucking knows, Dave? Who fucking knows?
Did you say, I remember you telling me, I mean, you might want to go into this, you were maybe planning to go into this anyway, but like, is this, I remember you saying this was an unfinished film, perhaps?
So, I met Kei Fujiwara 4 years ago, and absolutely lovely person.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that first and foremost. She's actually incredible. And we were talking, and I asked her about Ido, and we talked about the releases that it's had, and she was saying actually the one that has been released isn't the finished version, and apparently the only way to see the finished version at this moment is at her house.
Right.
Yeah. But at her house, she does theatre productions, and she rescues cats and lives with these stray cats that she's taken in, and has basically converted her home into a cat cafe,
right,
where you can go and play and feed cats and stuff, and she does small theatre productions there as well, still to this day.
Is this in Tokyo?
So when I met her, she was still living in Tokyo, but now she lives in the Nagano prefecture.
Okay.
And it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And she just posted today about her upcoming theatre production, and she's literally doing it in this tiny hut in the middle of a forest.
Yeah.
And you can get 9 people in there apparently.
Wow.
And she offers like accommodation in her house. So basically you can go to into the middle of nowhere.
We should do that.
I'm quite tempted to do that. It's a bitch to get to, but it's like a long old
I've got my
drive.
driver's license here.
Fuck. I'd be well up for that.
Let's look into it.
Yeah. And you literally just sit in a hut in the middle of nowhere in a region that has a lot of heavy snow.
Yeah.
And then you kind of stay in one of her like spare bedrooms.
Yeah. Sounds great.
But yeah, so she occasionally does screenings in her home, which is apparently the only way to see the complete cut of this film.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I wonder how different it is.
I can't think it would be that. I don't think it would shed much light on the madness of this film.
The only thing about this film that shows that it's from 2005 is the editing, I would say.
Oh yeah.
That's the only thing that made me wonder if her version is a little bit different. Like it's got some very 2005 effects and just certain cuts that look very digital.
Right.
But everything else is very gritty and raw and does not feel like it's from that time period.
I tried to find out some stuff about this film. There's not a lot. But she has a very basic introduction of this film on her website. And she talks about hearing the words of Shinra, who is a Japanese Buddhist monk from the year 1173, apparently. And he talks about the Amida Buddha. And apparently his prayers and his preachings essentially kind of like changed her life and outlook on life.
Right.
And she said, you know, what is life, and who are we to take away the life of animals, and who can be spared judgment after death, is essentially the themes of this film, which she adopted him from following this Buddhist priest, which is, you know, is from fucking century ago, you know. Watching the film without any of that context, it kind of comes across, at least to me, as like the ramblings of a mad, religiously brainwashed woman. Like, there's no other way I can kind of interpret it. It's just mad. And it doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm a firm believer in that Kei Fujiwara has such a strong vision, and she knows exactly what she wants to do, that I think this is a film that requires multiple viewings, and after you kind of watch it and figure it out, you will get a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely one I'd like to watch again in the right frame of mind. I really liked it by the end of it, but it's, as we said at the start, it's you know, Organ is also not a very normal film. It's very strange and disjointed in a lot of ways, but it's much easier to digest than this film. And yeah, for the first like 4 or 5 chapters, I was like, fucking don't know what this is. And weirdly enough, there's like the few moments where it just, even though they're not like, for example, the scene with the cop and the schoolgirl, like, felt like such a relief, just because it wasn't cutting all over the place. And I was like, okay, I can understand what's at least happening in this moment of the film. But then when I look back to that scene, I'm like, I couldn't tell you why that's in the film. But I'm sure there's a reason for it. So I want to rewatch it and try and get more of a sense of what's going on in it.
100%. Yeah, one of the just a slight tidbit as well, is when she was filming this and Organ as well, apparently she had a rule that everything would only ever be shot once. She would not allow second takes ever.
What the fuck?
So, because she couldn't afford extra film stock, etc., etc. So she was like, you need to do this perfectly. If you fuck up, you're buying extra film stock. So everyone was like completely on edge that they would have to deliver it perfectly. So with that information as well, I think she has such a clear vision of what she wants to make. So I think, like, me as a viewer, I don't understand what she's trying to tell me, but clearly it's something. So I kind of just have to, I feel like I just have to give her the benefit of the doubt in this episode.
I totally agree. And like, she's obviously like an extremely, interesting, talented, unique kind of filmmaker. So you can't, even if there's things that it, which 99% of the film didn't make sense to me, but I know that there's more to it that needs unpacking.
Oh, such a headache.
But a lot of the, like, the visuals and the music are so great that it is still quite enjoyable to watch. And towards the end, like the last maybe 20 minutes feels a lot more in line with Organ and is actually much easier to watch, even though it's like totally crazy at the end. But yeah, that stuff was much easier to digest just because it felt like, this is what I was expecting this to be.
Yeah, it's somewhat linear, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas the first stuff is just so fucking all over the place, like tonally, visually, like it's cutting between different times, different characters. I didn't know who anyone was. So confusing. Yeah, and I definitely watched it in the worst possible frame of mind for something like this, which is like tired and hungover, not willing to properly, digest.
Trying to find spiritual meaning in a fucked up film whilst hungover and tired is not anyone's idea of fun.
Very, very hard. So the wrong feels very wrong for this film.
That's it. I mean, it's so difficult because it's difficult to say how wrong a film is when I don't understand the film we're talking about.
The same thing.
Like I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm not saying that it's good or bad or it's fucked up or it's. I don't understand the message it's trying to tell me. So, in someone's eyes, someone who is a firm believer in the Amida Buddha, this might be the perfect film. This is a great film. But for the average viewer, someone who doesn't know what the fuck they just witnessed, I think it's going to rank pretty high. But you know what? I'm going to give it an 8. Reason being is there is a point to this film. There is a message that she's trying to tell us. I haven't understood that yet, but there is something. So therefore, in at least the director's eyes and the director's vision, there is a purpose to this film. So I can't go too high. But for the average viewer, if you were to say put this on for someone and be like, yeah, watch this. This is like this, film off the back of the Japanese cyberpunk genre, they will watch this and just like their head would just turn into Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 8. But I don't even know if that's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it last night, and I'm like, I don't know, like a 4 initially, because I'm like, I don't know, maybe because it's not really. I don't know. There's nothing that struck me as totally fucked or anything.
That's
I don't know. Like,
it's not like particularly violent or that gory.
But it is actually that final frame of that CGI text really cranks it up because it just makes it go like, wait, did I just watch a religious film?
It seems like some religious like propaganda.
Yeah. So that cranks it up quite a lot. Like that one moment. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna say a 6.
Okay.
But I can't give you much justification for that.
That's fine.
I feel like there is, it's like, it would be like seeing an experimental film and saying like, a high rating for this. Like that's the sort of feeling I would get giving it too high of a rating. So I'm going to say 6 because I think on repeat viewings, it would become less wrong. But that CGI text bumps it up a little bit. But fuck, that was the hardest film to talk about ever.
Yeah, I fucked us up. Sorry, mate. Threw a spanner in the works there. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'm glad I was really happy to watch it because I do, really like her work a lot. But yeah, fucking what a nightmare. But good news is...
Oh, thank God.
Next week...
Yes, what are we doing?
It's going to be much easier.
Good.
Got a lot of good news for you. All right, number 1, good news.
A lot of good news.
The film is like 35 minutes long or something.
Oh.
Isn't that nice? That's like the shortest film we've done.
Love it.
Second bit of good news. It's from fucking Australia, mate. It's an Australian film.
Wait, that's where you're from?
Yeah, that's where I'm from. I really wanted to do an Australian film, but it's quite hard to find an Australian film that fits the mold of this podcast.
Right.
I got some bad news, though, as well. Good news for us.
Okay.
Bad news for everybody else. So we always say what we're watching next week in the hopes that the, 2 people that listen to this watch the film before listening to the podcast. I don't think there's any way to watch this film.
Right.
This is the most fucking obscure thing we'll ever do. And the way that I have a copy of this is quite an unusual story.
Okay.
Which we'll get into.
I think you should save that for next time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely saving that for next time.
We've got to flesh out the runtime.
So, yeah, I'm sorry if you can't find this film. I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist online. But next week, we're watching The Bucks Party. The Bucks Party. Directed by Steve Jodrell. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I'll confirm that for next week. 38 minutes long. Nice. From 1978. Oh, old boy. Yeah. All right. So I think I'm pretty excited to talk about something Australian. So I think it's going to be fun. Bucks Party. Bucks Party. Let's do it. The Bucks Party. The Bucks Party. Here we go. So also, please, Guy, follow us on Twitter. Me? Yeah, you. Me? I'm following us. Oh, okay. Am I not? No, you are.
Oh, okay, good.
So yeah, please follow us on Twitter. We're at SMSW Podcast on Twitter. So yeah, please follow us there. Please tell like other people about this podcast if you like it, because we can't afford to advertise it anywhere. I wouldn't even know how to do that. No idea.
Beyond my control.
Yeah, don't know. And
ask the Amida Buddha, he'll do it for us.
And if you don't like Twitter and you want to send us an email or something, you can do that too. We're on Gmail at... Fuck, what's our Gmail, mate?
I did not know we had a Gmail.
Yeah, we do. I told you a few episodes ago. Yeah, you can email us at showmesomethingwrong@gmail.com if you want to send us some hate mail.
Send us some dick pics.
Yeah. But I think most important as well is like just do a rating on Apple Podcasts, do a review, do a share on Twitter, tell your mum about us.
Fan art.
Do fucking fan art. What would that be? Just like a beautiful like montage of all the films we've done so far. We could have that cunt from Mad Foxes, whatever his name was. That cunt from Infernal Rapist.
All the cunts.
All the cunts.
All the cunts. And us cunts in the middle.
Yeah, so do that. Fan art.
Do that. Fan art. Here you go.
Thank you.
Get involved.